So I'm not really sure how we got here. How did I become somebody's mama? I mean, I know the science behind how I became somebody's mama, but that's not what we're talking about. Once upon a time, I was just out here living my best life, taking naps whenever I wanted to, and my greatest decisions being what am I wearing today, and where am I going, and what am I going to eat. Long story short, I looked up one day, boom, 3 kids, a husband, a career, adult responsibilities that Tommy Pickles complained about years ago in Rugrats that I didn't ask for, and pretty closely mimicking the American dream, minus the picket fence and the dog, because sis don't do no dogs, and I'm sis is me. But it's the 3 kids for me though, and not just any 3 kids, 3 girls. Can we just pause right there for the cause? 3 girls. Because that alone is enough to do an entire podcast series on. I could go on a tangent on just that alone. That alone will just preach on its own. 3 girls. I'm still typing out my questions for God once I get to the gate. Because why? Who chose me for the assignment? And are you sure you had the right person when you chose me? And did you know when you chose me that I hate doing hair? And were you punishing me, God, or trying to be funny when you gave me the one who was tender-headed? And did you know, Lord, that little girls turn into teenage girls who you may want to tussle with? Because if you knew, Daddy God, then we got some talking to do. Because what in the world? Welcome to the Breed Black Mom podcast, where moms of color can come to relax, relate, and release. I'm your host, T, and this is our inaugural episode of the podcast. So if you're here listening, I want to start out by sending a huge thank you for choosing to join me here in this space. If you haven't already, please follow Breed Black Mom Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And most importantly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever streaming platform you are listening through right now. Lastly, don't forget to leave a review and tell the people if you're liking this or not. People, meaning myself, and the others listening. Let us know if you enjoy what you're hearing so far. So why Breed Black Mom? Why a podcast? Who are we talking to, talking about, and what can you expect here? Well, that's what we're talking about today. So let's get into it. When we found out that I was expecting my 3rd child, the greatest anticipation was coming from everybody wondering if it was going to be a girl or a boy. Our prayer was for a boy. We already had 2 girls, and although the 3rd pregnancy caught us off guard, like way off guard, we desperately wanted it to be a boy. I prayed. I even fasted, y'all. Like, I still got my little notebook where I was writing down my prayers in anticipation, and my hope was set on nothing less than it being a boy. I had a dream and everything about his name, wrote it down under the belief that, okay, God gave me this vision because I'm having a boy and I got his name, feeling pretty confident. Boom. The day of the ultrasound comes and we go in so we can find out the gender. We were both real hopeful and anxious, and I'm a social media girly, so I had the family and friends engaged online. They was all putting in their best guesses of what the outcome would be. It was split, some it's a girl, it's a boy, it's a girl, it's a boy, but we were all anxious about the outcome. My OB office was amazing. So the visit started with, a lot of small talk and just discussions around what we anticipated the gender to be. And it didn't take long once she put that cold jelly on my belly for her to say, oh, well, there's the cheeseburger. And if you're not familiar with what the cheeseburger is, that is the indication that what she is seeing on that screen indicates it is a girl. And me and my husband had our little moment of shock, and we just looked at each other and looked back at her, and we requested that she check again, because ain't no way And I know I asked her 1,001 times in every different way how short she was, because there had to be a possibility, or was there a possibility that she might be mistaken? It might be wrong. Like, it might be too soon. Because at the end of the day, I've been running with Jesus for a very long time, and ain't no way, my great big God gonna do me like this. There is no way. But he did. The ride home was mostly quiet. My husband spent a lot of time reassuring me that it was going to be okay, babe, it's going to be okay, sharing his contentment and having a girl, and, well, having 3 girls, and I'll just be a girl dad. And if you know my husband or don't know my husband, you're going to get to know him a bit through this podcast. He's one of the most optimistic people you could ever meet. Meanwhile, I'm literally in the passenger seat, fighting tears, holding my breath, feeling like I was about to explode. And right before we turned on our street, I did indeed explode. I started crying. I started yelling. And I remember my husband looking at me and saying, "Oh man, like, you really upset?" Yeah, I was really upset. So he just kept driving past the house, and my mom was there babysitting our other 2 girls, and he wanted to give me a chance to calm down. And I don't think to this day that people really realize how genuinely upset I was to find out I was having another girl. You know, people are disappointed. No, I was really upset, y'all. I remember feeling betrayed. I was angry. I felt betrayed by God. I was shocked. And I remember I was scared. I kept saying over and over, I can't do this. I can't raise 3 girls. I don't know how to do this. Why would God give me 3 girls? And my husband just kept trying to reassure me that I could do this. Babe, you were built for this, and all that jazz that husbands say to hormonal pregnant women who cry. And that's the last thing you want to hear in the moment when you're upset. And plus, I didn't sign up on the list this year to be God's strongest soldier. I didn't, but clearly he enlisted me, because baby, he was just getting started in 2016. Before we got out the car, my husband very firmly let me know, babe, God knew you can handle it. One day you're going to be able to use this experience to help other people who might feel the same way. Now, I've dealt with a lot of insecurities and fears in my life, as I'm sure many of you have. Many things that I felt I couldn't do, or fear got in the way and I didn't do, but hands down, motherhood has been my greatest insecurity and fear. It has been both my greatest joy and my greatest heartache at the same time. There are so many realities about yourself that come into play when you become a mom. All those things that you thought you knew about yourself, that childhood trauma you thought was healed, those daddy issues you never thought you had, the patience and spirit of Gandhi that you thought you had, nope. They are all revealed, and they are hard to navigate alone. In that car that day, I started reminiscing about all the things I felt challenged by growing up, and how although my parents did the best they could with what they had, shout out to them, even they didn't have the tools to help me navigate some of it. And I didn't feel equipped to do that either. Everything from changing a diaper and deciding whether or not to breastfeed, to navigating puberty, teenage years, and peer pressure. Baby, whose assignment is this? It's giving ghetto. It's giving the teacher gave the test before the lesson. Most days for me as a mom are a joy. I literally sit back in awe that I created some humans 3 times. And I've kept them alive and well this long. Kudos to me. Like, shout out to me. And then there are the times where mothering has literally felt as if I was holding my breath, just waiting for the next thing or the next to do, waiting for the next judgment, trying to find the right answers or see if this thing worked better with this kid that I tried last time with this kid. It could all feel like too much all at once, and not a lot of people are willing to talk about it. There are silent fears we carry and wonder if we're alone. Am I a bad mom? Am I really capable of doing this? And in the age of social media, the highlight reels of watching other moms do it or seem to do it all and have it all doesn't help either. They're keeping up with all the things, they're bonding, they're creating the memories, and meanwhile, My child ate sliced cheese for breakfast. YouTube babysat her all morning, and I was laying in the bed scrolling on TikTok. Like, those are the realities of motherhood. That's the real, the raw. And that's where the shame starts. It starts to grow, the guilt sets in, and the lies start that we tell ourselves as mom, that we're never good enough, we're not, doing the best we could, and we don't give ourselves a break. On top of everything else, the Black motherhood experience adds on an extra layer, a thick one. Yes, parenting is hard, period. And that hard spans across all races, socioeconomic statuses, genders, and cultures. None of us purchased the correct manual because I've yet to meet anyone who's getting it right. However, the Black mothering experience presents a different set of challenges for us. Many of us don't even realize that we still have the trauma of our ancestors deeply woven into our DNA. We'll talk about that some later. We are literally passing down generations of fight or flight to our children, advocating and protecting them in ways other cultures may not have the burden of worrying about. We have to train our babies to use a potty, brush their teeth, but then also buy them books and show them why they should love their hair the way it grows out of their head, or why the different skin tones of brown is beautiful, and why their lips or their noses may be slightly larger than their peers. We have to train them to be good humans and teach them how to do all the right things, but also teaching them the harsh realities of the cruel world who still won't love them in spite of all of that. On top of that, we got to fight with our elders about why some of us choose not to beat our kids, why it's okay to let our kids express their feelings, why we're not going to let them eat that, and why sending our kids to therapy is not a bad thing. It's exhausting. There are specific experiences that are unique to our culture that directly tie into who we are as individuals and plays into how we raise our children. And this is why Breathe Black Mom was created. Remember when I said I was a therapist? I've literally spent the last 13 years of my career minding other folks' business. Sometimes diagnosing them and then advising them on how to best cope through life. The gag, though, about being a therapist is we also need therapists. People assume we have the answers to all of life's problems when, baby, just before you walked in my office, I was having my own breakdown, sending my friends voice notes so they could talk me off the ledge, and emailing my own therapist to schedule me another session because life is lifing and it's out of order. It's hard as a therapist to apply the science of what you know and have been trained to do to your own life. Basically, we are the worst at practicing what we preach. However, as it pertains to being a mom, being a therapist has taught me the importance of self-awareness, acknowledgement, and insight, and how showing up as I am, whether that be showing up hurt or healed, directly impacts how I parent and how my children are affected by it. Finding out that I was having my third girl is when the realities of my insecurities and fears truly surfaced. I liked the idea of being a mom, but I didn't feel capable. I also didn't feel like it was fair to have these 3 innocent little humans have to rely on me to get it right and protect them from this world. But I realized my fears didn't start there. This was a seed planted a long time ago, deep inside those areas of my life that I thought were hidden. The parts I mentioned before that surface when you become somebody's mama. It was after having her that I decided that I would no longer keep those struggles to myself. I wanted to talk about them. I started to talk about them. First to my husband, some to my mom, and a lot with my friends and other moms I would connect with from time to time. Once again, I realized we're all facing the same struggles. Many of us facing them silently. 3 years ago, when I had the vision for Breathe Black Mom, I wasn't exactly sure what it would look like. Initially, I formed a support group of moms that came together virtually to chat about some of these shared issues. Schedule-wise, it just didn't work out that well for me, but shout out to those mamas who was rocking with me then and still rocking with me now. I love y'all. Y'all were the original BBMs, Breathe Black Mamas, and if you're here, shout out to y'all. And I just wanted to bring those conversations back to life and bring Breathe Black Mom back to life. So here we are. So what is it that we're going to do here? What can you expect to hear week to week? We're here to talk. Well, some of us, or some of you, are here to listen, but you get what I mean. We're going to speak our truth here, our authentic truth, and you'll hear it from real, everyday mamas like myself who don't have social, professional, or celebrity platforms to pull from. Just some kids, a 9-to-5, a pile of laundry, and unrealistic expectations. The goal of Breathe Black Mom is to create a safe space for moms of color to relax, relate, and release. And here's what that will look like in a podcast. We will release. We will share the taboo. The stuff you want to say, but can't. We gonna say it with our chest. Or I'll say it for you. How many times did you have a mom fail this week? Did you laugh when your kid did something socially inappropriate? That thing they weren't supposed to do, and you weren't supposed to laugh, but it was funny? That's okay here. Did your boss piss you off this week? But you can't say much because you need this job to feed them kids. It's okay. We'll talk about that here too. Do you really hate going to the sports events, but you love your kids and you're just there so you don't end up in therapy? Well, so they don't end up in therapy. Sis, you are safe here. Let's release it. I'll go first, but eventually I want to hear from some of you. And you can share openly or anonymously. Here, we don't have to hold it in, and we are letting it all go. We will relate. This is where we'll get into our topic for that particular episode. We can all relate to some aspect of the motherhood experience. So whether you're a girl mom, a boy mom, a working mom, a single mom, a mom with low self-esteem, a mom who needs therapy, a sports mom, a mom who struggles with her mental health, a breastfeeding mom, or a mom who needs to learn boundaries with her family. We can all relate, and this is where we will do just that. Lastly, we will relax. And I'm not just talking about when someone tells you to relax, take it easy, stop worrying, because nothing pisses me off more than impractical advice like that, with literally no direction on how to do any of that. I roll here. I want to teach you some practical ways to really relax. Remember, I'm a licensed therapist. I'm just not your therapist. But anything from learning breathing techniques and what mindfulness truly means to identifying different ways to cope through situations that you may not have even been aware of. I'll also provide some resources that you can tap into that will help you along the way. Of course, before we break into much of that, we first have to start with who I am and what my story is as a mom. Much of season 1 will be me sharing my motherhood experiences with you and you getting to know my own joys and struggles as a mom. And how can I tell you about what my life is like as a mom without first having a chance for you guys to meet the little people who call me mommy? These next few episodes will be dedicated to you getting to know a little about who they are. So once I start telling you about these kids, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. You're in for a treat with these 3. They are all uniquely different in personality, and surprisingly, they're very much like they were as I carried them in my stomach. But what do I mean by that? Well, you just have to come back and find out. Well, this is the story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. I kid. This, in a nutshell, is how we got here. And there's so much more to unpack. Thanks for listening. And before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe through whatever streaming platform you are listening from. Make sure you follow Breathe Black Mom, the podcast, on Facebook and Instagram for announcements and show updates. And lastly, don't forget to leave a review and tell the people if you're liking this or not. It's me. I'm the people. I'll talk to y'all soon. Until then, just breathe.